Hi, I'm Adam.
I'm Ethan. Welcome to Way to Manhood. Today is a little bit different. As you can see, we don't have any notebooks with us.
Well, we can't
That's the
anymore.
That's the new vibe anyway, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
all from up here,
That's right. Got to let it flow.
for better or worse. But
Yeah.
no, first of all, happy Veterans Day to all our vets out there. Obviously, we've talked about it before. He's an Air Force vet, and I'm an Army vet, which never is in conflict with each other.
No, not at all.
Best friends.
Yeah.
No, today's a little different. I did some interviews of some vets both in the area and then some guys that I knew, either I served with or I just knew through other ways. Through, I don't want to plug any, what's it called? Virtual meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Application. But did some online interviews with some guys. Should have somewhere like 7 to 10 interviews. Anyway, that's what follows, and we just wanted to get somebody else's story.
And I failed because
You didn't fail. You just didn't do what you said you were going to do.
so I was unable to do any interviews, but I will be better prepared next year because, and we've talked about it.
Yeah.
We're going to do interviews throughout the year. So once Veterans Day rolls around, we've got some that we've done, and I really wish that my Uncle Gary was still with us, so we could interview him. He was a Marine in Vietnam, and he passed away this year. So
yeah, just recently here.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know, the further we get into the 21st century, there's less and less of, I don't know. I don't want to put a label on it, but like World War II vets. And, you know, you and I both share such a deep respect for those guys. And actually, some of the interviewees talk about it. Just, you can't get away from that storming the beaches of Normandy. I don't know if there's any better image of self-sacrifice than that. Jumping off those amphibious crafts to withering machine gun fire, mortars, artillery. Incredible. I mean,
I can't imagine.
No. And the fact that they persevered and were victorious is amazing. Absolutely amazing. But no, we've got Air Force, we've got Marines, Army. I don't know that I got any Navy guys, but I'm not quite done yet. So I may have one or two in there. But some great stories going all the way from Korea to the War on Terror, and really, really powerful stories for some of these guys. But the one common thread was they didn't really want to talk about themselves. And it was pretty cool. I asked them all an opening question and a closing question that were the same, and then changed up the two middle ones. But I actually wanted to ask you the opening. What does Veterans Day mean to you?
Pride.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Being not prideful, but being proud to say that, you know, I served our country.
Yeah.
And honor. It's a day to honor veterans, you know, across the country.
Yeah.
So, not just free pancakes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I read this book when I was in my military history class in undergrad called Breach of Trust or something like that. I don't remember who the author was. Sorry. But it was about how really the only way to have true appreciation of civilians for veterans or service members or whatever is to bring the draft back. And actually, one of my interviewees mentioned that. But it is tough because I do see people honestly really trying to appreciate veterans and some of them look like they sacrifice more than some of us vets, But it's a tough dynamic there. And I do appreciate the fact that we have a day that people attempt to. It's tough for me because, and it's easier, I think, the older I get or the farther I get from my service. But when I got out, I didn't feel like a vet because I didn't deploy. And it was right in the midst of everything. And I had friends that died. And to have served alongside of people, and I served alongside, and I won't say where or who at all, but one of the platoons I was with had just gotten back a few months ago and had lost almost half their platoon. And I came there as, we called them a slick sleeve, because you get your right patch when you get deployed. Are you guys the same way? So we have the left patch, which is whatever division we're in currently, and the right patches you get during deployment. And I was a slick sleeve. And boy, there's no more humbling feeling than that, to be around people that have been through that and you haven't. So for when I first got out, I was like, I don't feel like a veteran. And the further removed I get, I joined to get to be deployed. I joined in 2009. It was in the midst of everything. But I'm able to kind of appreciate myself a little bit more for joining. And especially when I think about, like, I've got buddies now that didn't deploy. And I don't want them to feel like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I shouldn't allow myself those feelings either.
It's funny you say that. I've never really thought about it, but I was the same way.
Yeah.
When I got off active duty, it's almost like, I didn't feel like I qualified.
Yeah.
To say, I'm a veteran.
Yeah.
And there were several years that went by, and people would acknowledge me, and I'm thinking, no, not me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those guys. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, those guys.
I appreciate them too.
Yeah. So, and you said something about the draft, and I have said this for a long time. I truly feel like anyone that's capable should have to serve. I don't know what kind of time frame, a year, 2 years in the military.
Yeah.
And I really think our country would be in a different place. People would have different morals, different values, virtues.
Yeah, for sure. Korea does that. So it's not just military. So when you turn 18, it's either 18 or 19 in Korea, they make their men do 2 years of civil service. So it could be military, it could be police, it could be fire, it could be a garbage collector, it could be in politics somehow, or government administration. But they make them do 2 years to retain their citizenship. And I've thought about that before too. And I'm not going to get political, but my political realizations over the years of what I feel like government is for, I don't know that I want my government to have the power to force me to do that, because I want my government to fit on the pinprick of or the tip what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tip of a pen.
Tip of a pen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
But if you're going to have a big government and and it's inevitable, then maybe that is a good idea.
Well, but, the more I think about it, the more I think, yes, it would, help our nation, as far as the way we look at things. But, yeah, you don't want to be forced to do something.
Sure.
And it does make a difference if you do it voluntarily.
Yeah.
Because you want to serve your country, not that you're made to.
But then, see, that's true. But then you look at the guys who we consider the greatest generation of Americans. Well, I'm kind of partial to the founding fathers, but the World War II vets, a lot of them were drafted.
Oh, yeah.
And they're still heroes.
Yeah. And not taking anything away from them.
And I didn't mean to imply that you were. Yeah. So it was some good interviews, including my senior drill sergeant that I'm actually going to go interview here in just a minute. So we'll see how that goes. But it's a weird dynamic because for 16 weeks, he just tried to torment me. But
yeah,
phenomenal guy. I got to actually serve with him later in Korea. Super brilliant. He was, I think, the battalion master gunner. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so had all the numbers of the tank stuff going on in his head all the time. Yeah. I figured like the world looks like the Matrix to him.
Oh, yeah.
He's calculating azimuth as we speak.
Yeah, yeah. So I got a question for you.
Okay.
Did you have anyone that served in your family, like, father, grandfather, uncles?
Yeah, my dad and his dad both served, and then my maternal grandfather also. So pretty much all the way up.
Yeah. Okay.
And then my grandmother had something one time she had a mini ball or something from the Civil War that I can't remember if it was the same one or something that had been shot into her uncle or her great uncle or something like that. And I think it was just a replica of it. But yeah, so all the way down.
Okay.
What about you?
Yeah, I had uncles that served, and my grandfather was he drove an ambulance in Germany during the war. And
well, that had to be just from watching MASH, it looks scary on MASH. So I can't imagine real life and in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's terrifying.
Mm-hmm. And, he never talked about it.
Yeah. Probably a good thing. But now you wish you had some of the stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, stay tuned. Here they come. Hope you guys enjoy them.
Have a good Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day. All right, everybody. I'm here with Dan Rodenbar, Cowboy Dan as he's called now, at the meeting of the West Tennessee Veterans Coalition. Dan, you were telling me a little bit about your military service. Can you catch everybody up?
Yeah, I was drafted September of '69 into the United States Army and took a train ride into Omaha, Nebraska, and that's where I was inducted, and then went to Fort Polk, Louisiana, Tigerland.
Yeah. And then went from there to Vietnam?
Vietnam, yeah. Well, I was raised in cattle community, ranching community in south central Nebraska. And my grandfather always taught me when things get tough, just get mad and face it. And so I had never been in a situation like that when I was inducted. And so I just started volunteering for everything. And that got me into a lot of the academy and different things. And so then I ended up in Vietnam.
Okay.
1970.
What was your MOS?
11 Bravo.
Infantry.
Yeah.
Ground
infantry.
pounder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you made it through the other side.
Yeah.
When so many didn't, for sure. How long did you spend in the Army as a whole?
6 years total, 2 years active, and I did 2 tours in Nam.
2 tours in Nam.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your service, first of all.
Thank you.
What does Veterans Day mean to you personally?
To honor those that served this country, and sometimes we need to stop and pause and be thankful for the freedoms that we have for those that gave them to us.
Amen to that. Well, I've got a couple of heavy questions now. So the first of which is, what weight from your time in service do you still carry today?
Memories. And of course, I was in a lot of combat, and
Yes, sir.
it took me a long time to get over some of them, and I don't do drugs, and so a lot of times during my time, when we'd go visit a doctor and you'd tell him some of the things that you went through, the first thing they'd want to do is prescribe stuff for you, and
Yeah.
they don't work well with me, and so I had a difficult time getting over that.
Because you didn't want to.
I didn't want to do drugs, and they didn't work on me like they work on other
Sure.
people, and so fortunately I had a doctor in Midwest, Wichita, Kansas, when I was doing some engineering for Boeing, and he liked me, and he gave me his home phone number, and he said, when you have a problem or night sweats and anxiety, give me a call. And so one of the best things I did was start working out at a gym. And so every time I'd have anxiety and a problem, I'd just go to the gym and start working out.
Okay. Well, I run a fitness training business, so I completely understand. Physical health is so important to your mental health.
Sure is.
It is. It's such a key factor. Okay. Well, what lessons about manhood did the military teach you, for better or worse?
Everything. And I've said forever, if you wanted to straighten this country out, if they'd bring back the draft, it would straighten itself out in a quick hurry, because that's what we need, more honor and self-respect, and that's the biggest thing, I think, is just the things that I learned: structure, discipline, even though I came from a good family and all, but honor. Another thing is your physical limitations. You probably didn't know that until you went into the military and they taught it to you.
Yeah, it has a special way of breaking you, doesn't it?
You're correct.
Well, yeah, I agree with, especially about the honor. Our culture is just we've left no place for it.
But it's embarrassing. It really is how we've, just in my lifetime, how we've gone downhill, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, and it used to be what kept everybody in line because you didn't want to dishonor your peer group.
Correct. Yeah.
And now,
I think another thing too is we got so much socialism. When I was young, our heroes were bigger than life on a movie screen.
Mm-hmm.
And now we got too much socialism. Like cell phones and whatnot, and
sure,
even things that aren't true, they pass and they believe about people, and we don't have those heroes to look up to like we did.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The social media expansion and just connecting to everybody has not left room for honor or those larger than life heroes that we can look up to. I like that answer. That's good. Well, speaking of larger than life heroes, I'm sure if draftee Dan could have seen you now, you probably would have been that larger than life hero because you made it through everything and you lived to tell the tale. You lived to be inspiring to people on our show now. So what would Cowboy Dan now take back to draftee Dan in 1969 and tell
him? To pay more attention, and to when you're young, you don't think about limitations. You just give it what you got, and I think I would give it a lot more. I mean, I did a lot of special training, and I think I would have just given a lot more.
Yeah, just more effort.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great answer. I think my answer might be similar.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this a lot as I've done these interviews, and I think one of the things I would have said to myself is just try harder, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Give it everything. You'll make it.
Give it 110%.
That's right. All right. Well, Dan, thank you so much for this interview. Thank you for your service.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one. I'm here with Matt Gribble. Matt is a Marine vet. He was a buddy of mine that I served with, not in the military, but as a police officer. Man, I don't even know, back in 2014, 2015?
2015 is when I started that, 2015.
Okay, all right. And then just as importantly, we trained and competed in strongman together.
We did.
Really where we bonded, I think, most. all that pain.
Some great times.
Absolutely. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about just your Marine service real quick.
Okay, yeah. So joined the Marine Corps right out of high school, 2005. I was a combat engineer. So joined 2005, 2006, after going through boot camp through my MOS school, deployed to Iraq. So I was there from 2006 to 2007. A couple things in between over the next couple years. 2010, did a non-combat deployment. Got to go on ship down in Southeast Asia. Traveled around to a lot of different countries, to South Korea, Okinawa, Japan, Thailand, Indonesia. It was kind of all over the place. Then got out in 2011. So
okay.
was in for a total of 6 years.
Okay, awesome. So was all of that active time?
No. So I actually enlisted as a reservist. So
okay.
the two deployments were active duty time, and then in between was drilling status. The 1 weekend a month, one summer out of the year, that deal. So
I got you. Okay. What year were you in South Korea?
I was over there in 2010.
That's awesome. That means we were there together. We just didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was in I was in Korea from February of 10 until February of 12.
Okay. Yeah. So we were there together. I don't remember the name. It was a. So we were actually there for. It was 31 days, because I remember everybody's like, "Oh, we're going to be here for over 30 days, and we'll get the Korean medal, Korean Defense Medal, I think it was." So I don't remember where we were. We were on an army base. I know that. We were staying in kind of like a
geographically where you were in the country.
No, I don't.
That was 15 years ago, so it's asking a lot.
Yeah, it's been a while. I could probably look it up, I could probably find it somewhere, but I don't remember. I know we were staying in like a tent city on Army base.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Sounds about right. Yeah. The only experience I had with Marines when I was in Korea was every now and then they would come to town. I was stationed at Camp Casey, which is up near the DMZ.
Yeah.
And so we had a little area off base where the guys would hang out, and you know how military guys are.
Yeah.
And every time the Marine guys would come, they just wanted to fight.
Oh yeah, that sounds about right.
But it was always a good time,
Right.
So, well, cool, man. Well, thank you for that service. Obviously, you then continue to serve with me in law enforcement, and you've got some pretty cool things going on right now. We're not going to get into the specifics, but you got some new things coming, hopefully, and that's why you look like you're where you are right now, right?
Yeah. You can see the brick walls and brown doors.
Yeah, well, it's all familiar for you, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. Very, very familiar.
Well, cool, man. All right. Well, to get into the questions, what does Veterans Day mean to you personally?
Personally, for me, it's a time where I can kind of sit back and just reflect on the service of not just my generation, but especially the guys that came before me that served, those World War II guys, those Vietnam era guys, and then of course some of the guys that I came across too during my service. But just reflect on the things that they did, sacrifices that they made, and just the type or the caliber of people that have been in all different branches in the past. Yeah.
For me specifically too, you can't help but think about the World War II vets, especially since we have so few of them now. And man, what a generation of veterans.
Definitely.
Well, what advice would you give to young men considering joining the military today?
Oh yeah. So I tell them it's for sure a good choice. I think anybody could benefit from it, but definitely probably the biggest piece of advice is just to know your why. So know why you're getting into it, why you're doing it. Whether it could be patriotism, it could be for the education benefits, just to get career training, whatever it might be. You really got to know and understand that, because if you come across those hard, long days, makes them a little bit easier. If you know your why, you know why you're there, you can kind of lean back on that. I guess it's kind of a multi-part answer. Second part would be just to think about the long term. So once you get in, of course, you could do your enlistments, your 4 years, 6 years, however long you're in, but think long term. It's really a good career that you can go into, do 20 years. If you're able to make it that long, retire, and still have a lot of life to do a second career afterwards. So that's something I wish I'd have thought about, in the beginning. I would be at retirement right now and still be able to go into what I'm going into now. So, so those are probably the two big ones. Just know your why, think long term, and enjoy it. Take pictures. When I was in, it wasn't cool to take pictures. But now looking back, I wish I had pictures of everything that I did. So
no, exactly. I do too. I get sent some pictures sometimes by some of my Army buddies from Korea, and I wish I had some of my own.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So. Well, finding your why that's a good point, because it'll give you a why to continue. But you have to have that own personal deep drive too.
Oh yeah.
And it gives you a sense of purpose, which kind of leads me into my next question: is how have you found purpose again since leaving the military?
Yeah. This I'd say that's probably another multi-part answer.
Sure.
The big one for me was family. So my wife got a couple kids, and I kind of look at it as kind of being that NCO leading a bunch of junior enlisted. You've got to make sure they're up at the time that they're supposed to be up. They shower, they eat, they get to where they need to be going. So it's a little softer in the heart, but very reminiscent of leading some junior enlisted. So that's one way I found my purpose. Another way is through fitness and exercise. So like you mentioned earlier, we did strongman stuff. Yeah.
I love to hear that.
So,
man.
Oh yeah. So after getting out, I kind of let myself go a little bit, but then got back into fitness. Started out with running, and then got into lifting. And I've been doing that. Now starting to get back into running again, kind of less lifting, but just trying to stay active all the time. And then law enforcement also, not so much the job itself, but just being around the people within law enforcement. A lot of times it's the same or similar as, you deal with or you're around whenever you're in the military. So all those have kind of helped out.
And, I think for me too, there is a brotherhood still, excuse me, in law enforcement, but it is stronger when you do it with other guys that are vets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's it's almost like a brotherhood within the bigger one. So
yeah. So personally, I'm just super grateful that I had guys like you. And well, there were several others, I guess. Yeah. Several others we served with when we were in law enforcement together that were vets.
Yeah. There were a few of us in there. So,
and I guess I would be remiss too if I didn't before we go to the last question. Is I mentioned it on the podcast the last time we recorded. I'm not sure if it'll be out before or after this one, but to mention Chuck Teeters, who just passed.
Yes.
So
yeah, he was definitely a great guy. I was just telling one of the guys here that I'm with. I was telling him about it and telling him about back in the day on second shift. Chuck Teeters was a shift supervisor. It was, good times.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, good guy, and went out as a hero. So.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. All right. Well, if you could talk to the man you were when you first enlisted back in, what'd you say, 05?
Yeah, yep,
Back
05,
in
20
'05.
years ago.
Time flies, buddy. So if you could talk to that man now, what would you tell him?
Um, Probably a little bit of everything that we've just talked about. I'd tell him to know your why going into it. Understand that, think long term. Tell him to enjoy it, to embrace it, have fun.
Yeah.
But also, while think about that long term, build those leadership qualities. Look into getting any extra training, extra schooling, that that he could do, to further my career. So, but definitely the remember my why, think long term. Those two deals would probably be the things I'd mention.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I talked to a guy last night that I started in Korea with, and I'm sure you feel the same way with the path that we've been on as fathers, as husbands, as brothers now. I wouldn't have changed anything because it led us to
Right.
exactly where we are now. But I sure
Mhm.
wish I could have been a little bit smarter in my
Yeah.
application of everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, Matt Gribble, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for your service, both in the military and then in law enforcement with me. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and we'll continue this this brotherhood we've got for a long time. All right, everybody. I'm here with what is I can definitively call my best friend from the Army, James. We went to basic together in different platoons, but we went through basic together. Well, OSIT up at Fort Knox, and then I think you got shipped out a couple of weeks before me, right, to Korea.
Yeah, you got to go home in the meantime. They put me on a bus and a plane, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, yeah. So I went home for 2 weeks, and then I joined you in Korea, and we got to spend a couple of years in Korea together. During which time we both got promoted to an NCO role. We were roommates, got promoted to an NCO role, and then just continued to just stay in the same room because we were used to it and we depended on each other emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember very distinctly when they said we could go to different rooms, and we looked at each other and then back at our platoon sergeant like, do we have to though? And then I think I slept on your floor for a good while.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Good times. Or
Yeah. They were nice enough to give me a free sleeping bag, so it'd be a shame for me to not use what the taxpayers provided.
That's right. I mean, that's just that's thoughtful of you, honestly.
That people have said that.
All right. So you were, excuse me, you were a tank gunner for the majority of your time as well, like I was. So we competed against each other several times. That was fun.
I mean, if you want to call it a competition, that's not the word I would use, but
I don't even remember who won now. That must have meant what you did better than me, because I would remember, I think, if I did better.
You have a funny way of remembering, but we'll go with it.
All right. So we did that, and then after I left Korea, or you left, I guess you would have left first, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today. I think a little bit before you, yeah.
Okay. And you went to where?
I went to Fort Benning, which was then Fort Moore, which I guess is Fort Benning again. I don't know. But yeah, Fort Benning, Georgia from there.
Yeah. Okay.
So
did you get reclass?
Yeah, I did. So I started out when I enlisted in the Army as a 19 kilo, as an M1 armor crewman or a tanker. And when I got orders to go to Fort Benning after my 2 years in Korea, they also sent me a nice little document that said, "Congratulations, you are now a cavalry scout," which I still to this day don't know anything about being a scout. But
yeah, because no training was included in that.
No.
Just, hey, guess what? You're different.
Yeah. And I was unlucky enough to end up in a unit where we were just doing a lot of mundane things, but half of the troop, not the company, because there's a cavalry unit, half of the troop was tankers and half of it was cavalry. scouts, and I was in a scout platoon and would just like look over longingly at the tank platoons like I belong over there, and they're like, no, we're using you over here. So technically I was a tanker and a scout, but my heart is always in tanks, and that's all I really know about. And yeah, I did the last 2 years of my enlistment at Fort Benning. So I did 4 years total, and then it was I was about ready to go home by that point.
Okay. And I know you're kind of a private person. Do you want to share what you do now, just in a general sense?
Sure. Yeah. So after I got out of the Army, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I had some free college, and I liked working on cars and motorcycles and things. So I thought, well, I'll go learn how to weld, because that would be cool to, be able to work on motorcycles. And within a week of it, I realized I loved it. Still do. I really enjoy welding. So I'm been a welder now for about 10 years, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah. And built various things, and, just get paid to melt steel with electricity. I mean, it's kind of fun.
That's cool. So you're still in love with it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun game in my mind, because there's no such thing as a perfect weld. You have a chance to get better at it every day, and there's always there's always a new part to learn how to make there. And I kind of get left alone. I can sort of just go in, pop in some headphones, listen to an audiobook, and just work. And yeah, I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Well, good. Yeah. I think you're still supposed to have to build me a bike someday.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I know that's like a 10-year-old request, but we'll get to it someday.
Well, one of these days my singing and dancing is going to take off, and then I'll have the money and the free time to do that for you.
Okay. All right. Let me write that down real quick. Singing.
Yeah. Promote singing and dancing influencer channel.
That's right.
Yeah, baby. We're going to do it.
That's right. All right, buddy. I'm going to get into these questions now. So I'm going to ask all these vets, what does Veterans Day mean to you personally?
When I think about Veterans Day, I think primarily about all the people that came before me. I've always felt kind of weird whenever somebody said, thanks me for my service. I was like, I didn't, there's a lot of people that deserve it more than I did. And in a way that makes me reflect on what it is that all the people that came before me did, the sacrifices people made. And, things that it makes me feel like it's an honor to be somewhat, even just to wear the same uniform as some of those men.
Yeah.
And then it makes me think of what it is that compelled some of those men to do the things that they did. And
sure.
I think a lot of times about, I forget who said it, I've got all sorts of quotes, but I can never remember who said it, that a soldier fights not because he hates what's in front of him, but he loves what's behind him.
Yeah.
And what he's defending. And I think of, a guy storming the beaches of Normandy, and how much he must have loved his home to do that, to, run right into that, hellscape. So yeah, I think a lot about all those guys, and just how much they must have loved their country and loved their families, and loved the brothers that were alongside them. So yeah, in a roundabout way, when I think about Veterans Day, I think about love, and how much love those guys must have had.
What beautiful answer. Yeah, I felt like I got lost in that at one point, because like you're saying what's in my mind, what's in my heart. It's exactly right. For whatever reason these guys joined, whatever reason we joined for, at the end of the day, it comes down to love.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna go die for politics. But for most people, you're not gonna go die because you believe in some grand ideal of freedom. That may be what gets you there, but you're gonna go give the ultimate sacrifice because you love.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be. I mean, ideals are great, sort of big ideas of what, what a country could be, or what it is today, or whatever. Sure. But I think that's too big for someone to hold in their head. On some level, it has to be a person. I mean, you think of how many soldiers are I wonder what percentage of people. I've heard stories of World War II soldiers where they, get in a firefight and they're looking for information on, dead enemy troops, and they find pictures of their sweetheart back home. That is, I mean, that's incredibly sad, but at the same time, I think it says something about humanity, that it's like when the rubber meets the road, they're doing it for somebody.
Yeah. It really gets to the heart of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, moving on to something that may be a little bit lighter. What do you miss most about military life? And then consequently, what do you miss the least?
I noticed in your previous podcast that you had notes, so I'm doing the same thing.
That's fine. Go ahead. Read your notes, man.
Yeah. Milk, eggs, ground beef. Oh, wait. Sorry, that's the wrong one. What do I miss?
Yeah.
I'm glad that landed, by the way.
No, man, it's perfect. I love it.
That's kind of an easy one. What I miss is my friends. Yeah. I miss the connection that we had, sleeping on your floor, because even though we were just on, in different rooms, it's like, no, I want to be in the same room as my friend. I want to be around him all the time. And it wasn't just, I mean, the friendship was a big part of it. You have some of the best friends ever in the Army or in the military. I think hardship does that to somebody. It was how much we leaned on each other, even in ways that it's like we probably wouldn't have said out loud at the time. The reality was that it's like, I think of like Forrest Gump, when like Bubba and Forrest are like sitting back to back, and they're like, all right, if you just lean on me, I'll lean on you. And then we went up to sleep in the mud. It's like, that one is actually way deeper than just the physical trying not to sleep in the mud. I mean, you could go on that for a while.
Can I interject with a quick anecdote?
Yeah.
Of you taking a nap in mud?
Yeah, very kind of mud, actually.
Yeah, you thought it was just a nice cool puddle in the middle of August, and really it was a leak of JP8 jet fuel.
Yeah, which, I mean, I think that kind of speaks to the mindset where I thought at 2:00 in, the summer heat, well, I'll just go sleep in that mud. That's a great idea. And it was a great idea at the time. But yeah, turns out jet fuel will leave you with a rash.
Some people call it a chemical burn.
Yeah, well, I don't have the authority to give medical advice or make proclamations like that, but yeah, some people would.
All right, man, moving on.
Yeah.
All right. So, anything else you miss, or what do you not miss?
That's the biggest thing I miss. I mean, playing with machine guns is fun. Tanks are a lot of fun, but I would never in a million years want to go do tank things again by myself. I mean, it was all about doing it with your friends. That was the whole thing. So yeah, that's really what I miss. I mean, I definitely miss being part of something bigger than myself as well. But I mean, there are things in my life right now that are bigger than me that I'm a part of. So that's not unique to the military. I think what I miss definitely is how tight you and your friends were. What I don't miss is the flip side of being part of something bigger than yourself, which is that the Army is a big bureaucratic machine that does some of the silliest things you've ever heard of, and you just have to bite your tongue and go along with it. And again, that's not necessarily unique to the military. And a lot of companies do silly things that you have to go along with. But boy, oh boy, has the military turned doing silly stuff into an art form. So yeah, that I don't miss is being part of such a big organization.
Sure. Well, I think a lot of times companies also don't have the idea to do an 11-mile division run through the mountains.
You didn't have fun with that?
It wasn't difficult. It was weird. It was basically a sprint and walk through the Korean mountains, because with that many people, the accordion effect, I mean, the whole time.
Yeah. what sticks out in my mind is how they somehow at some point in the mountains had people standing there with giant like speakers playing Youth of the Nation by POD, and I'm like looking around at all these like 18, 19, 20-year olds on the literally on the wrong continent from where they were born. Like there's something deep going on here, and I can't quite parse it out to play Youth of the Nation. but,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know what? That's actually a perfect example, because that was one of those things. If the division run was going to start at 5, it meant that the battalions said be there at 4, and the company said be there at 3. So you're waking up at like 2 a.m. to go stand out in the cold for 4 hours. I mean, that stuff I don't really miss, but
yeah,
part of the game. It all makes for a fun story at the end of the day.
Yeah, thankfully at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We're not still in that.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So, to bring it back to maybe a heavier topic, what weight do you think every man carries, whether he's a veteran or not?
Really, in a word, it's responsibility. I think that's the defining thing of a man. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, but a man is responsible for a lot of different things, and depending on the man, that might mean something totally different. You might have a responsibility as a father, or as a husband, or as a teacher, or as a pastor, or as a soldier. And oftentimes responsibility isn't something that you chose. There's a lot of circumstances you find yourself in where it's not your fault. You didn't choose to be there, but it is your responsibility what you're going to do about it, and what you're going to do with what you're given. Obviously, in the military, you're just handed responsibility. Here's what you're going to do, like it or not. You don't have a choice. And I know that when I got out of the Army, I thought that I wanted to be as free from responsibility as possible. I wanted all the freedom I could handle. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And freedom, I really made an idol out of freedom. I worship the idea of like being a free individual. And in doing that, what I really did was enslave myself kind of to my own passions, to avoiding hardship. I would go out of my way to not have to face something I didn't want to face. And it's only, it took a long time for me to realize that I was running away from things and not really facing responsibilities, and that to be a man, I had to face responsibilities, and even to ask for more and take on more. I right now, I don't have a ton of responsibilities in my life, but one of the things that I am responsible for is doing the best with what I've been given. Because I think every man at some point realizes that they're not who they could be. I sometimes daydream about this, like living in fear of the idea that like one day I'll be sitting on the couch or something, and a version of me who never took the easy way out walks in and sits down next to me, and I have to look him in the eye and see what I could have been. And that just terrifies me, because I think, what if I never took the easy way? What if I took on every challenge that was presented to me? What if I did the right thing no matter how much it hurt? And that's a little bit abstract to think in those terms, but I think it kind of gets to the point that I was after, which is that every man deep down knows that they could do more. And I think that our responsibility as men is to face that and do the best we can, and that's not to say that we all need to climb Everest or own a Bugatti or whatever, but maybe it means that, I haven't talked to this family member in a while, and last time we talked, I wasn't very nice to him, so I'm going to call him and be nice, and that's better than I was before. So, responsibility. It's every man's got to face up to him at some point. You can't sort of seek comfort and run away from responsibility forever. And anybody that knows me listening to this would be like, oh, what a hypocrite. For the past few years, I'm hoping that a version of me 5 years ago can somehow magically hear this advice. So I'm talking to an older version of myself. I don't live up to this by any means, but yeah.
But you know that, and you want to fight it every day.
Yeah. That's the challenge right now, is to try, wake up every day and decide I'm going to go for it.
Well, that brings us to the last question: is if you now could speak to you in 2009, what would you tell yourself? Brand new enlistee.
I would say, number one, it's going to be over before you know it. When you're in it and you've got, I think I knew for a long time how many months and days and however, X number of days and a wake up, it's going to be over before you know it. And don't worry too much about that. What I would tell myself is wake up every single day and go as hard as you possibly can. Don't turn down any opportunity. If somebody dangles a school in front of you, I had a chance to go to airborne school and I was like, no, I'd rather go to my room and drink beer all weekend. I wish I'd done airborne school. I mean, would it change my life? No, but now looking back on it, it's like, man, I was there. I could have done it. I should have.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to spend, it's going to be over before you know it. And you're going to spend a lot of years telling the stories about what you did while you were there. So make as many good stories as you can, try as hard as you can. And ultimately you're going to have to look back on it and live with how you handled yourself there. Did you try? Did you give up? Did you phone it in? I mean, there are a lot of people, and I did to a degree as well. I'm as guilty as anyone, where I'm like, we got 6 months left. You think I'm going to try really hard?
Yep.
It's like, I wish I would have.
Me too, man. I think I tell myself the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks, dude. We need to wrap it up now, but man, great answers. Thank you for helping us celebrate Veterans Day in our way. And happy Veterans Day to you, brother. And thank you for your service.
No, thank you for your service, man. I appreciate you having me on.
I've got Reverend Mercer here, Reverend Larry Mercer, here in Jackson, Tennessee. You were in the Army, correct?
That's correct.
In Vietnam, obviously.
Yeah.
And you joined in 1969?
69, right.
Okay. All right. And you said 13 months in Vietnam.
13 months in Vietnam, that's correct.
All righty. How long did you serve in the Army total?
It was 2 years, 9 months, 6 days.
2 years, 9 months, and 6 days.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. What does Veterans Day mean to you personally?
It means a great deal to me. It means that those who served in the military gave of themselves for the cause of this nation's freedom.
Yes, sir.
That we now enjoy, and it's just a tremendous celebration to have that recognized in this day and time.
Yeah.
There were those who gave their lives.
Yes, sir.
Those who served in the military.
Well, amen to that.
For this country and all.
That's right. And you're, like I said, you're a pastor now, correct?
That's right.
All right. So how did your faith grow or change during your time of service?
My faith has always been intact from my upbringing. Came up in a religious home, mother and father, grandmother always instilled in us the value about Christianity and the Lord and all.
Yes, sir.
So foundational wise, I took that into the military itself. And wherever I went, I always reflected back on those things that were instilled in me as a child.
Carried it with you.
Yes, indeed.
Like
yes,
the armor of God, right?
Yeah.
All right.
It was just a reality about putting on the armor. The Bible said in Romans, Ephesians chapter 6,
yes,
putting
sir.
on the whole armor of God.
That's right.
Go out and fight spiritual wars now. Yeah.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
God.
Yes,
yeah.
sir. So what did you find difficult about coming home from Vietnam and readjusting to civilian life?
Well, after being in the military and going through various courses in the military with basic training, AIT, first duty assignment, then Vietnam. I mean, you calculate all that together, and there's so much that you sort of put together as far as life is concerned. It was just an added addition, to tell you the truth, about where we were trained up as children to be discipline, obedience,
Sure.
respect,
So it's the next level of that.
Yeah, next level of it. You don't abandon those qualities and things that you would instill as a child. As a matter of fact, you build on them no matter where you go, military, non-military, and it all works together for the good.
So you carried the lessons with you even to
Oh
today.
Lord, yeah, yeah.
And you said you were at Fort Knox for AIT, right?
Yeah, AIT. No.
I went to Knox. I was a tanker.
Yeah, okay.
So I went to Knox. And did you have to march those hills?
Oh man.
Agony, misery, and heartbreak.
Oh, yeah.
I don't miss that. I don't miss that at all.
As a matter of fact, about 3 years ago, I went back to Fort Knox. I have a nephew that's in the military now. He's a lieutenant colonel.
Okay.
And he was being pinned up there at Fort Knox. And the family got together and we drove up. And I'm going back to the place that I did my AIT years ago. Didn't even recognize the place.
Yeah, I imagine so.
But it was a good feat just to set foot on the ground that he would being pinned and all. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So that was 1969 when
I went in.
When you went in. So if Reverend Mercer today could go back and talk to Private Mercer in 1969, what would you tell him?
Continue to follow in the things that you've been still in trained.
Okay.
Taught. Yeah.
So lean into it.
Don't deviate. Don't waver. Foundation has been set for your life, and you shouldn't deviate from it at all.
Well, amen to that.
Yeah.
Well, Reverend Mercer, I certainly appreciate you talking to me today.
All right.
And we'll talk soon, okay?
Be blessed.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. I'm here virtually with my buddy Mark Rothenmeyer, who I served with for almost 2 full years in Camp Casey, South Korea. We're both fellow tankers, both graduated from one station unit training at Fort Knox. He was just a little bit behind me. Not intellectually, as he may point out, he did have a higher GT score than me by like 4 points or something like that.
5.
5 points. My bad, Mark. My bad. Anyway, it was a pleasure to serve with you, brother, and I appreciate you joining us today. Where did you serve after you left Camp Casey?
So after leaving Korea, I went to what was then known as Fort Bragg, which had its name changed to Fort Liberty, which was the dumbest name of all of the name changes, and then changed back to Fort Bragg. So same place in North Carolina. I was there for about 4 years.
Sounds like it would be the name of a fob somewhere, not a base. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Did you stay a tanker? Or did you go do something else?
No, I switched gears and joined the special operations community as a PSYOP specialist.
Okay.
So I did a lot of inform and influence activities, did those in Afghanistan and then in Turkey as part of the Syria train and equip mission.
Okay. Awesome. And despite having a full 4-year college bachelor's degree, you came enlisted anyway.
Sure did.
Okay. Still happy with that decision?
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal, man. All right. Well, just to get to a few questions, what does Veterans Day mean to you personally?
So this is a little bit of a challenging question for me because Veterans Day is not a day I make a big deal about.
Okay.
I'll text a couple friends, the people who mean a lot to me and have meant a lot to me out of that community. But I actually really hate being thanked for my service.
Yeah.
In large part because I think that culturally we've gotten to a point of as long as you thank them for their service and you have a yellow ribbon sticker on your car, magnet's okay because you don't want to damage the value of your car. Then that's all that really needs to be done. Small meal at Applebee's for free.
Yeah.
Also, not a drink, just small meal. And I kind of understand where people are coming from, but also it's just it makes me feel more uncomfortable than anything else. So I don't like being thanked for my service. I don't like to bring it up a lot. I don't like to be spotlighted as a veteran. This summer I was in Boston with my wife and kids and my in-laws, and we're doing a duck tour, which was really cool because it's a, facsimile of the World War II duck boat.
Okay.
And, yeah, riding around Boston. And one of the things is they were like, oh, well, is anybody a veteran? And I just sat there quietly and then my wife points at me. It's like, oh yeah, he is. And then later on, there's like, is anybody a first responder? And then my wife points at me again. And I was like, I don't want that.
Just stop it.
Just stop spotlighting me, please.
Yeah.
So for me, Veterans Day is the veterans that I know, the veterans who I served with, and the people who made that meaningful to me.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that kind of leads me into my next question is, do you think modern culture understands what service and sacrifice truly means?
You know, so there's that meme on the internet, and for lack of a better way to describe it, it's like the Chad theory of history, where you have good men create, or strong men create good times, good times create weak men create bad times, and it goes around in a circle and a
That's
circle.
very strong man. Yeah.
And I kind of think that we're at the weak men sliding into bad times portion of that cycle of history. I think that we have had a very blessed time for the last 50 to 100 years in the United States.
Sure.
We have been the economic preeminent power. We have been militarily the preeminent power. And we have all gotten used to that. We have all gotten to a point in our lives where we kind of expect that. And I think that service and sacrifice are something that maybe is not as high of mind in most people's forethoughts.
Yeah.
I think with service, I think there's probably the same number of people who are really service oriented as there always have been in history. And I think it's an extremely small portion of human society is actually service oriented. And I would say the vast majority of us who join the military are not doing it because of a greater desire to serve our country. It's more so we bring our own selfish reasons into it, right? So like for me, it was, can I prove myself as somebody who had a very privileged upbringing, who was 137 pounds coming into basic training, and 5'10", and so very skinny, very wimpy.
Lanky. You were lanky.
I was lanky.
Yeah.
And I wanted to prove myself. It was extremely important to me to know what it was like to get shot at and how I would react to that. So, and then I got my answer, and it was fine. Everything was fine. But is that still service if I came in mostly with a selfish reason of trying to prove myself?
Sometimes factual basis comes in where intent fails, right?
Right. Yeah. Functionally, yes. But, and we'll get into it a little bit later, I think that most of the actual real service I've done for humanity has been since I left the Army.
Yeah. So
but talking a little bit about sacrifice, I don't think our modern society is prepared to sacrifice very much at all.
Yeah.
Read a lot of World War II history, and the concept of rationing. How do you think the vast majority of people in this country would handle being legitimately forced to ration tires and food and fuel and all of those basic necessities that in the 1940s people had to give up for, a war economy? I don't see it.
Yeah. When we've talked on the podcast, I think it was during the first episode, we talked about the difference between men now and men from the 40s, or men, I guess, from the 20s and 30s that came of age and served in World War II. They were men. And some willingly, some forced willingly went and, talk about sacrifice, man. Just take the most well-known of Battle of D-Day. Storming beaches in the face of withering machine gun fire from these amphibious boats. It's hard to think of another image that means that has more of a direct connotation to sacrifice, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So,
James Holland, author, World War II author, and then also host of the podcast We Have Ways of Making You Talk, talks a lot about this a lot. It's
Are you
like
plugging another podcast? No,
plug in another podcast.
No, I'm just kidding. That's fine. Go ahead.
And he talks a lot about like what does a kid from Idaho have to do with storming a mountain in Italy, like
Yeah.
climbing in the middle of winter to the top of a mountain in Italy to fight the Germans. The British, there's a little bit more of a connection there. A lot of the other armies, like the Poles, fought very bravely in Italy in World War II. They had a reason to be fighting, but what did it really mean to Americans? And I think that there was a lot of conditioning that came along with the with the Great Depression and the way the Civilian Conservation Corps worked to develop boys into men at that time. And do we have anything like that now? And I don't necessarily think we do. But we also don't live in conditions that are even vaguely similar to 1930s America.
Because those strong men created good times.
No, because we had terrible, terrible times, which then made strong men. The 1930s were a terrible time.
Now, like you said, we're in the good times, creating these weak men who have now we're kind of seeing a downhill still into maybe some bad times.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you felt like your service means more now than it did when you were in, which I think most veterans don't feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
So the question I wanted to ask is, what helped you find purpose again after you left the military?
So I left the military. I left active duty in 2016. I started an online graduate program. And I realized that the purpose of the program was really shaking hands in person. So I was able to transfer from the online iteration of it to the in-person iteration, which meant moving up to Northern Virginia and going to school in DC. In the meantime, though, Amy, my wife, needed another year of teaching in North Carolina to get a full unrestricted license, which would make getting reciprocity in Virginia much easier. So we stayed for a year, and I was kind of kicking around with needing something to do. And the local community college had a bunch of classes for transitioning service members, one of which was EMT. So I started doing that because I thought that driving around in an ambulance sounded a lot more interesting and a lot more fun than waiting tables or stocking shelves. And
Agreed.
I was hooked by the time I got it through my first week, really. I had this feeling of, why do we keep asking about things and then getting told only paramedics get to do that? Well, I don't want to be on scene somewhere and not have the full scope of practice, the full set of tools to use to treat a patient. So I went straight through to paramedic, and we did move up here. I did finish that master's degree program, but I've been a paramedic, and working as a paramedic is definitely my calling. It's the thing that I am so glad that I found when I found it, because it has given my life purpose, and it has allowed me to continue to serve, but also really, really thrive outside of the military.
Yeah. Well, and so that's not all, because now you are a flight paramedic, right?
Yes.
So that, I mean, you got to mention that. That ramps it up quite a bit, buddy.
So, well, yeah. I guess it does. I suppose that is the case. So this is something that I definitely carries over from the military. So, I had an aggressive first 6 years in the Army. I had a very, very successful Army career to start out with. It kind of plateaued very early. But I took that same mindset after the military and have constantly progressed myself in my profession, which has allowed me to get to where I am. And yes, I am now a flight paramedic. I work with a very, very progressive agency, and we get to do a lot of things, and I get to see a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's very fulfilling.
Well, thank you for your service in both ways.
Thank you.
Yeah. As much as you hate it, I will be the first one to tell you. And I'll call you on Veterans Day, which is when this is going to drop, and tell you again.
Great. Can't wait.
So my final question, and I've been asking all of our interviewees this. If you now could go back and tell Private Rothenmeier back in 2010,
10.
2010, anything, what would you go back and tell him?
Superficially, there are a lot of things that I did in the Army that I wish I hadn't. I think 13 Fox, which is Forward Observer, would have been a much better starting MOS than 19 Kilo for me personally.
Yeah.
I think it was First Sergeant Roberts who said that this job is 90% brute force, and I weighed 137 pounds and was 5'10". Brute force.
He wasn't really wrong either.
Yeah, he was not wrong at all. Going 37 Foxtrot, going into PSYOP was a good fit for me, but a better fit would have been being a civil affairs specialist. I would have gotten into medicine a lot sooner because the civil affairs specialists got to go to the Special Forces medic course. So I would have had that opportunity much earlier in my career, and I think I would have really thrived in that situation. I think if I joined the Army Reserve instead of the National Guard, I'd probably still be in. I think that would have been a better fit for me. I think I would have had a better experience than I did in the Guard. But if I hadn't done exactly what I did, I wouldn't be the man I am today. I wouldn't have the people in my life that I have in my life. I had to go to Cobra 172 Armor to meet you, to meet a lot of our other friends, some of whom you may or may not meet on this podcast. I would not have gone in any of the directions that I went in, and I'm very grateful for that. So I think I would just tell myself to keep pressing on.
Awesome. Those are wise words for all of us. Absolutely. Keep going. One foot in front of the other every day.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also glad that you did what you did and you chose the path you chose, because we get to have this conversation now and maybe help out some other vets, maybe help out some other men and tell them to keep pressing on.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, I certainly appreciate it, brother.
Hey, I appreciate you.
All right, guys. This was Mark Rothenmeier, a fellow tanker of mine, and we certainly appreciate having him on the podcast. All right, I'm here with Zach Seamers, who was my senior drill sergeant of, what was that, 2009 to 09 to 010, or 09 to 10 at Fort Knox. I don't even remember what was that. What unit was it? We were the death dealers. Remember that?
Yeah, 281 Armor.
281 Armor. That's right. Yep. And 4th Platoon.
Yep.
And I was telling Adam, my co-host, that 1st and 2nd Platoon had the easy road, and 3rd and 4th had the traditional route, and how much I appreciated having gone through the harder version of it, because they were kind of transitioning to the softer basic, where they then handed out stress cards or something we had heard.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but back then I probably wanted 1st or 2nd Platoon, but hindsight, I'm glad that I had you to really bear down on me. And then we got to serve together in Korea as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in a 1st Armor and a Cobra company, and that was a great experience for me.
Yeah.
I miss my company in Korea, for sure. For sure. Well, you're here now, actually, in Tennessee with me by kind of sheer happenstance, and I'm super glad. I can't believe that all came together, but thank you for coming on the podcast. And
yeah, my pleasure.
And talking
really
to
good
us.
to see you again. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
We kind of ran into each other, just out of the blue into a couple of weeks back, and so it's really good to see you again.
Yeah, you as well. Can you give us a brief overview of your military experience?
Oh yeah, so I retired in 2013, 21 years, active duty service in the Army as a tank crewman and stuff on the Abrams tanks. Worked through all the positions, loader, driver, gunner, tank commander, and then, past that became a platoon sergeant, drill sergeant, master gunner, kind of a broad experience,
Yeah.
stuff, across the spectrum, as it were.
Yeah.
With it. So.
Well, overall, good experience in the military?
Yes.
Because then you went on to be a contractor too and stay kind of in the military sphere for a while.
Yeah, for quite a few years. Once I retired, I became a defense contractor. Most of it was overseas in South Korea.
Sure.
A little bit of time in Hawaii, and so for 2 years in Hawaii, which is pretty nice.
Did you miss the Korean winters when you were in Hawaii?
No, absolutely not. and so Hawaii was absolutely gorgeous. Not going to lie.
Yeah.
Perpetual summer. Very, very expensive though. I definitely underestimated the cost of living. Living in Hawaii.
I can see that. Yeah, we don't have the perpetual summer here, as you can see.
Yep.
It's a little overcast today.
Teeny bit.
Okay, well, let's get into it then. What does Veterans Day mean to you personally?
For me personally, Veterans Day is a day to remember everybody that served. And so I know there's always been a bit of a competition between the different branches, and even within the branches between the active duty, the reserve, and the National Guard. But for Veterans Day, for me, it's a chance to remember and stuff. Not only my experiences in the service, but also thinking about all the people that I've served with.
Yeah.
And stuff, men and women alike. Soldiers and non-commissioned officers, sergeants, officers, everybody. So
and those from the other branches that you didn't. For me, it kind of comes together too. The rivalries kind of died down for a day. Yeah, exactly. What weight from your time in service do you still carry today?
For me, and not so much for Veterans Day, but more from Memorial Day. For me, it's remembering, the friends of mine that I've lost, over the years. Several to combat, and so being in Iraq, knowing, several, friends of mine, soldiers that I've served with that, died in Afghanistan. And then, just along the way, not only, soldiers and, friends of mine that have died from natural causes, but those that have not been able to get out of those dark places.
That's tough. And I feel like there's kind of an uprising right now, a swelling of people starting to really recognize that and support that and try to combat it, because the more we stick together and we stick with each other and we let people know, hey, I got your back, man. You don't have to stay in the dark places, but oftentimes you can't escape them.
It's true that, and that's one of the things too, being in the military, especially combat arms, like you and I and stuff we're in together, is that there's always been, well, not always, but there is a stigma against, especially males, asking for help.
It's unmanly somehow.
Right, whether it's physical help or emotional or mental help. You're looked down upon, if you go on sick call, for any reason, because you're not feeling good or because you're hurt and stuff, you're considered weak. And it's the same way with asking for, emotional and mental health. There's that stigma that if you, go to see a counselor, you're weak. And so there's something wrong with you. And so that, you're not going to be able to overcome, when it comes to promotion or moving on with your, moving upwards in your career. And, I do, see, especially now over the last several years, that a lot of that stigma is going away. There's an active movement in the military community and stuff with a lot of the support from the civilian community to, see past that stigma. And soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, being able to find, that support and that help that they need in order to heal, in
absolutely.
form or fashion.
And it's good. That stigma needs to go away because, man, there's not much more of a tragic way to lose somebody than that.
It is.
For sure.
Definitely.
Well, and speaking of civilians and veterans, military members working together, what weight do you think all men carry, whether they're military, veteran, or civilian?
I don't know if I can speak for all men and stuff, but I think that a big part of that weight is being good enough. Are we providing, for our families and stuff in the way that we should? Are we good enough at our job and stuff? Are we able to, meet all of those responsibilities and those obligations, that a lot of times we put upon ourselves? And, I think that, especially one of my challenges, that I'm working on, is am I good enough, for the people that I love.
Sure.
And stuff. Am I good enough for my family? Am I doing enough for them?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of weight. It's a big pressure to have to bear.
Well, and we talked about, I think it was in the second episode we had, that we kind of tried to define what the weight of manhood is, and we softly defined it, subject to changes along the way and corrections, but as the duty to fully fulfill each role you carry, whether it's son, father, husband, service member, whatever it is, to show up 100% every single day. And that's a big weight. That's a big weight. And you probably do, just from hearing what you're saying, you probably do like I do, and you tend to be a little bit too harsh on yourself. Sometimes my wife comes to me and she's like, hey, you're doing okay. Like, you're doing good for us. Just don't beat yourself up so much. Because I try to take ownership of everything. Yeah. And it's heavy, but I think we're built for it. And
and it's one of my personal challenges, and so like I said, and I'm working towards being able to communicate more effectively with my partner.
Yeah.
And so to let her know, it's just like, hey, I'm feeling kind of down.
Yeah.
I could really use some reassurance.
Yeah.
And just being able to open up to her, about it.
Yeah.
Which is something that in the past and stuff I have not been able to do.
Yeah.
Because I felt that if I come across this way, to somebody that's important in my life, they're going to think that, I'm not meeting the standard.
Yeah, you're unable to carry the weight, and they're going to find somebody else to do it or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's a fine line there, because you don't want to offload too much on them, because you do have to be that provider, that protector.
Right.
And man, it's a fine line. It's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, the final question is, if you could go back to when you first enlisted, what would you tell Private Seamers?
Wow. Some things I'm going to say here, other things I'm not going to say out loud.
That's fine. Perfect.
But, definitely, stay the course.
Yeah.
And so, the military for me was, I would have to say, probably, the defining moment, of my life. Everything that I experienced in the military and the Army and stuff, really, it made me who I am today.
Yeah.
And so with it, I had amazing role models, growing up. My father, he was not in the military. He was a welder in the shipyards.
Okay.
Hardest working man I've ever known in my entire life.
Yeah.
Could have his leg chopped off at the knee and he'd still go into work.
Yeah.
Because he had that obligation, to provide for his family. And then my grandfathers. And so both my grandfathers were World War II veterans. One is a Navy vet, the other one in the Army Air Corps.
Okay.
Was a pilot. And again, very patriotic men, and so very dedicated and committed men to their families, to their country. So I had a lot of really good, role models growing up. And so when it came to that, but going into the military, especially if I could talk to my younger self, is stay the course. You're going to have, several incidents, and events in your career, in your life, that are really going to make you question yourself.
Yeah.
Whether this is really the right move for you. And so is this really what you want to do?
Yeah.
And, it'd be, stay the course, stay strong.
Yeah. That's good. Well, and, when you were saying all that, it kind of made me think, you got the opportunity to do that for a bunch of other men. As your role as a drill sergeant, you got to talk to these fresh guys, and you got to mold them a little bit. How long were you a drill sergeant?
2 years.
2 years?
Yep.
I guess that's the normal step.
It is. A drill sergeant could extend for a third year, so they'd have to volunteer for it. After the 2 years, though, I was...
Well, and knowing you now, it doesn't seem a perfect mesh for your personality to be shouting all the time.
One of the things I like to, joke about with, folks, and, especially telling, my Angelina, about my time in the service, is that it was a switch. It was an act.
Yeah.
And so I think I could honestly say that the entire 2 years I was a drill sergeant, I was only legitimately angry maybe 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Were any of them at me?
No.
Okay, good.
There was a couple. I don't know if a couple of, soldiers, but it was an act, and so it was a switch. The hat goes on, and so the switch, gets flipped.
Yeah.
And stuff, and you're the drill sergeant, and digging in, the soldiers.
For sure.
Like that. Hat comes off, and so him Zach.
Yeah. Well, and even when you went to Korea with me, or not with me, but shortly after I got there, you were different. You were a completely different person. Of course, you're still an NCO and you still
Right.
deserve the respect that you were afforded, but it was night and day, even then. And now to now, it's a good change, and you gave me a very positive experience in basic training.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I didn't feel like that in every single moment. The one particular where you decided we needed to take all of our bunks and put them in the quad downstairs because we couldn't get our bays right, and so we better practice outside. That one I didn't like that much, but looking back, I can genuinely thank you for that. You helped to mold my military experience, and you made me proud to have gone through basic training.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Being a drill sergeant, that was probably the hardest job and stuff I had ever had to do in the military those 2 years. But at the same time, it was, I think, the most rewarding.
Yeah.
Still keep in touch with, quite a few of my soldiers, over the years.
Yeah.
Served with, several of my soldiers.
Sure.
We had, John Pock and actually on my tank when I first got to Korea, and apparently he was just absolutely terrified that Drill Sergeant Seamers was, coming to his platoon.
Yeah, I can kind of remember that because he kind of, I remember. Yeah.
But it was, one of those things like, hey, I'm not a drill sergeant anymore. I'm Sergeant Seamers. That's, I'm your tank commander.
Time to work together.
Sergeant. Yep. It was. It's been one of the proudest moments and stuff that I've had. Several moments. Since coming off the trail, is being able to follow the careers of several of my soldiers and see how they've grown through the in the military and how they progressed in their careers.
Yeah.
And that's a really great feeling, to see that.
Well, it's probably a little bit of a paternal feeling.
Yeah, I think
in
so.
a certain sense.
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your service.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. It's been a pleasure.
It.
And I look forward to us being able to hang out for real now.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you. All right, everybody. I'm here with Reggie Sims. You now work with the Madison County Veterans Services, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about your military experience?
I did 28 years, retired from Fort Campbell.
Okay.
7 deployments in combat. Enjoyed doing what I do.
Well, apparently. You did 28 years. Was it all active? Was it some reserve?
I did 20 of it active, and the rest was reserve. But reserve was on the end time, but I was considered an AGR.
Okay. All right. So clearly you had a good enough experience that you wanted to continue in the military sphere.
Correct.
Helping veterans now. And actually, to be clear, Reggie's helped me out too personally, so I definitely appreciate that, Reggie. Well, I'm going to ask you a few questions now, if that's cool with you.
Sure.
What does Veterans Day mean to you personally?
Well, to me, it's showing appreciation to the men and women who wore the uniform before me. Just to give them their appreciation for what they've done and paved the way for us that are here now.
Okay. All right. That's a good answer. What does brotherhood mean to you now that you've left the military officially and in this role? What does brotherhood mean to you?
Well, to me, brotherhood is like the brothers, the guys that I serve with. We still have that camaraderie where we'll sit down, we'll talk, they'll reach out to each other just to check on each other, see how you're doing, check on their families. That's brotherhood to me. It's a bond that can't be broken.
Absolutely. Well, that's, I kind of told you before we started recording, that's why we're doing the podcast. We want these guys to know that somebody's there. Somebody's got your back. You're never alone, no matter where you are. So, and yeah, I think when I left personally, the sense of brotherhood was gone a little bit, but when you find other vets and you build something together or help them, I think it really rekindles that sense. What's something you wish civilians understood about veterans?
That the sacrifice that they gave for them, the freedom that they have right now, I don't think every civilian really understands that.
Yeah.
That they went through some stuff to give us what we need right now.
Sure.
And some people just take it for granted that, hey, everything's supposed to be given to you, but they had to fight. They paved the way for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And Veterans Day is a good time to remind people of that and help them remember,
Veterans
right?
Day is a great day, great time to do it.
Awesome. All right, well, Reggie, last question. If you could go back to when you first enlisted, what would you tell Private Reggie Sims if you could tell him anything from now?
To be focused and don't think that joining the military is a bad thing as far as you got to go to war. You're gonna fight.
Yeah.
No, it gives you it it grows you up, then it gives you solid foundation for jobs, and then when you get out, you can use that skill and that trade that you learn to further yourself in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I like what you said about taking the lessons, because I was a tanker, and that's not really allowed back in civilian life, But the lessons I learned and the relationships I built and just the experiences, just like you said, carry it forward and have that focus.
Right.
Well, awesome. Reggie, I certainly appreciate you talking to me today.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good rest of the day, man.
Thank you for your
Happy
service.
Veterans Day. You
Same
too.
to you.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed those interviews as much as I enjoyed getting them. Those guys are super informational, but to watch the depth of what they experienced in their eyes and then in their stories was pretty powerful. So
Good deal. I appreciate you doing that.
yeah.
And like I said, we will have quite a few more next year because we're going to work on it.
That's right.
As the year goes by. So I hope all of y'all have a great Veterans Day. Thank you for your service.
Yeah. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Absolutely, brother. All right. Happy Veterans Day, guys.
Take care.
Bye.